I started my weight loss journey in 2023 at 218 pounds, but the reality is I have battled my weight for most of my life. My highest non-pregnancy weight was 265 pounds, and that was just in 2014. There are some things that I learned along the way this time on my weight loss journey in my 40s that I wish I would have known in my 20s and my 30s, and maybe I wouldn't have struggled as much as I did with my weight. And I call these things my fat loss cheat codes because they actually worked. I ended up losing 70 pounds in 9 months and 90 pounds overall by implementing these things. Now, after I lost the initial 70 pounds, I had lost so much fat around my abdomen that I had loose skin that was starting to impact my workouts. So I did have a tummy tuck to have 1.5 pounds of loose skin removed. And then I went on to lose an additional 16 pounds. One of the things that I wish I would have recognized long ago was that the visceral fat, that belly fat that I was carrying around my midsection, was directly tied to the amount of processed sugar that I was eating. And when I talk about processed sugar, I'm talking about refined sugar, added sugar, but I was truly addicted to things like cookies and pies and ice cream and candy bars. In fact, I had to have this sugar every single day. I was eating so much of it. And what was happening was this sugar would hit my bloodstream and spike my glucose levels. My body counteracts that by pumping insulin into the bloodstream, but I was just eating this sugar in such high quantities that eventually my body was like, okay, what's more efficient, continuing to pump insulin into the bloodstream or storing all the sugar as fat? And so my body just started to store everything that I ate as fat, and the most convenient place to store it was around my midsection. And I just really wish that I would have recognized long ago the correlation between that belly fat and the amount of sugar that I was eating, because this time around on my weight loss journey, I cut out all processed sugar. I stopped eating it cold turkey, and I was finally able to shrink my belly. And again, I ended up having to have a tummy tuck because I lost so much fat around my abdomen, because I finally realized that in order to lose the fat, I was gonna have to cut the sugar. And you know, what's interesting about that is in past weight loss journeys, I would count calories, and I would actually allot myself a certain number of calories per day for things like sweet treats, for things like ice cream and cookies. And what that has taught me is that counting calories just simply isn't the end all be all when it comes to losing fat. Because think about it, I was counting calories, but I wasn't giving any regard to the actual quality of the calories that I was eating. And we all know that, 250 calories of ice cream reacts very differently in your body than 250 calories of broccoli. What I have learned over my weight loss journey is the best approach for burning fat and keeping that fat off is a macro-based eating approach. And that is simply counting macros, your proteins, your carbs, and your fat versus just simply counting calories. And the reason why counting macros is the best approach is because you are actually giving some thought to the quality of the foods that you're eating. Now, when I lost the 70 pounds in 9 months, and again went on to lose 90 pounds total, I followed a macro-based eating approach where I simply counted macros versus counting calories. Focusing on a macro-based style eating just ensured that I got in the right mix of high quality foods that my body actually needed in order to burn off fat. So whereas I was counting calories in my 20s and my 30s and I was on the weight loss roller coaster all the time, I started to count macros in my 40s, and I have finally been able to lose the weight and actually keep it off. One of the things that a macro-based eating style taught me was that I didn't have to cut out carbs in order to burn fat. I could still lose fat and eat carbs. And the reason for that is because I was able to focus on quality complex carbs. It makes all the difference in the quality of the food that you're eating. And so as long as I was eating quality complex carbs on this eating plan, and I was eliminating the simple carbs like the refined sugar and the cakes and the candies and all of those things that my body just did not need, I was able to get a good balance of proteins and carbs and fats and not have to eliminate entire food groups in order to burn off the fat. So on this macro-based eating plan, what I did focus on was hitting a protein goal. I went to the TDEE calculator and plugged in my information, and it gave me goals to reach for protein, carbs, and fats. And I took those goals and I plugged them into MyFitnessPal, and I started tracking what I was eating every day with a focus on hitting my protein goal. This way of eating forced me to really be mindful about the quality of food that I was eating. I had to always be mindful that I was getting in my protein first, because I had a lofty protein goal that I had to hit every day. And the reason why a high protein diet beats a low carb diet is because when you're eating enough protein, your body uses that protein to build muscle. And when you have more muscle on your body, you're able to burn more calories, aka more fat, whether you're in an active state or at rest. That helps you to burn fat faster. Whereas if you're focused on just a low carb diet where you're trying to reduce the number of carbs that you're consuming overall, but you're not really focused on the protein intake, then you're not helping yourself, because you're not necessarily doing what it takes to build that muscle in order to burn more fat more efficiently while you're at rest. Another thing that I call the fat loss cheat code that I learned along the way on this weight loss journey was that you have to drink water in order to lose weight. And I was one of those people who hated to drink water. I always had to have something in it for flavor, things like Crystal Light. And I really didn't drink enough plain H2O. And that really hindered my previous weight loss attempts. But this time around, I actually started my weight loss journey on a challenge which required me to drink a gallon of water a day. Now that's excessive, and I don't recommend anyone drink a gallon of water a day, but what it did force me to do is just simply drink more plain water. Drinking that water absolutely helped me to feel full. You know, I wasn't mindlessly snacking because I was more focused on getting in all of this water that I wasn't used to drinking every day. But from a physical standpoint, it was actually keeping me pretty full throughout the day. So I was taking in fewer snacking calories because I was drinking more water. It also helps to increase your metabolism, aka burning more fat even while you're at rest, because your body actually expends energy just to warm up the water that you're drinking. And then your body uses the water to flush out the fat that you're burning, as well as other toxins and waste from your body. It actually helps to reduce bloating and inflammation. And so in past weight loss journeys, when I wasn't getting in enough water, I was really doing myself a disservice. Even if I was on plan with my eating, even if I was on plan with my exercise, because I was not drinking enough water, then I wasn't helping myself with maximum fat burning. At the end of the day, what this weight loss journey has shown me is that you cannot outwork a bad diet. And I know we've heard that before, it's pretty cliche, but it is absolutely true. And I have proven that not only in past weight loss journeys, but in this weight loss journey as well. I'll give you an example. Last year, I was training for a marathon and I was eating pretty clean. I was cooking at home. I was eating whole foods. I wasn't eating out a whole lot. I had eliminated processed sugar. I was drinking my water. I lost 16 pounds over the course of that marathon training block. Take this year. I started to train for my second marathon. Well, I was doing more commuting this year. I was eating out more. I wasn't preparing my meals at home as much. I was slipping on my water a little bit, and every now and again I would have a sweet treat. And guess what happened? Not only did I not lose weight on this marathon training block, I actually gained 5 pounds. And I was doing the same amount of running and workouts over the course of both training blocks, but at the end of the day, my nutrition made all the difference in whether I lost weight or gain weight. Even when I started this weight loss journey in 2023, I was working out every single day. But again, my nutrition just wasn't there, and I was eating loads of processed sugar. And so I was working out, but I was losing and I was regaining the same 5 pounds. Only when I was able to get my nutrition in check was I finally able to lose the fat for good. A lot of you have asked me, what exactly did I eat to lose 90 pounds over my weight loss journey? If you want to know more about this macro-based eating approach and what I actually ate, the actual meal plan that I use, as well as some of the workouts that I use in order to lose the 90 pounds, click on the link in the video description and check that out today. And speaking of working out, one of the things that I figured out on this weight loss journey was that walking is just as effective as any other exercise for losing weight. I realized that I did not have to kill myself doing high intense cardio workouts in order to burn off fat. In fact, on this weight loss journey, I lost my first 30 pounds in the first 75 days simply by walking. I walked twice a day for 45 minutes each time, and what I found was that this equated to about 10,000 steps a day, which is, for me, it was about the equivalent of walking 5 miles a day. And that was enough combined with the nutrition, right? Because nutrition is 80% of the equation. But that was enough in order for me to really see a difference in my body composition when it came to fat loss. I did not have to kill myself spending hours and hours on the cardio equipment in order to burn off fat. And then I discovered this cheat code. You actually burn more fat strength training than you do with cardio. Now, I was cardio queen in all past lives. Like, I was always on the cardio equipment. I always thought that I had to get my heart rate up and I really had to break a sweat if I wanted to burn fat. You would hardly ever find me on the strength training equipment in the gym. I just stuck to the treadmills and the ellipticals and the Stairmasters because I thought that was what I needed to burn off the fat. Come to find out, once I started to incorporate strength training into my routine and really lift weights, and I didn't have to lift heavy weights, I was mainly lifting dumbbells in my basement, I really started to see the fat melt off and really started to see my body take shape. And this all kind of leads back to what I was talking about with increasing the amount of protein that you eat, because it leads to muscle building. When you're eating more protein and now you're strength training, you're really building that muscle, you're burning off the fat, but you're also building up lean muscle, then you're burning more fat at rest. Once I started incorporating strength training exercises into my routine, I was able to rapidly, and I mean rapidly, see a change in my body composition. I would get on the scale and I would have maybe only lost 4 pounds that month. But if you were to look at me and you were to look at the way my clothes fit, I was losing like 2 and 3 dress sizes at a time. So strength training is an absolute fat loss cheat code for me. It probably should have been at the top of the list, but it was absolutely critical, not only for the fat loss, but also building the muscle and actually having some definition and some shape to my body once I lost the fat. Another fat loss cheat code for me is sleep. I did not recognize the importance of sleep to fat loss until this weight loss journey here in my 40s. And the reason for this is because, we think that our bodies are burning fat while, we're in the throes of exercise in the middle of the day. What actually happens is our bodies wait until we're at rest in order to perform those essential functions like fat burning and muscle building. Your body's really efficient, and so it decides, okay, I'm not going to compete with all of the things that you are doing and got going on during the day. I'm going to wait when you're perfectly still, and then I'm going to do my thing. And so when you're not getting enough sleep at night, you're cutting into the prime fat burning time. You're actually doing yourself a disservice if you are eating on plan throughout the day, you are getting in your cardio and your strength training through the day, and then you're only getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep. You're not actually maximizing your fat burning potential when you cut your sleep. Now, we've all heard 8 hours of sleep. I always recommend at least 7 hours of sleep. Of course, 8 to 9 hours if you can get them, but a minimum of 7 hours of sleep per night is absolutely critical to the fat burning process. And finally, I learned this time around on my weight loss journey that the scale is not an accurate representation of my fat loss process. In prior weight loss journeys, the first thing I would do on day one would be pull out the scale and see what my before number was. And every single day I would weigh myself, sometimes multiple times a day. And if I didn't like that number, I'd pick up the scale and move it around the bathroom and I weigh myself again, as if that was gonna make a difference. This time around on my weight loss journey, I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that this time. It didn't serve me before, and so I'm just not going to do that this time. I'm not going to focus on the outcome because that's what the scale ultimately is. I'm going to focus on the progress. I'm going to focus on doing and building the habits that I need to build in order to lose the weight and not necessarily focus on the outcome of that. And I'm so glad that I took that approach. Now, when I say that I was 218 pounds at the start of this weight loss journey, that was actually how much I weighed in the doctor's office the day before. When I started this weight loss journey on day one, I didn't even get on the scale. That's how much I was committed to focusing on the journey and not on the result. The cheat code for me here, ultimately the success of my weight loss journey, was the fact that I focused on the journey. I focused on the task. I focused on building the healthy habits, and I did not focus on the scale. I didn't focus on those numbers that discouraged me over and over again on past weight loss journeys that caused me to give up. I just simply decided I'm just going to continue to focus on the task. I'm going to continue to focus on the good habits and see where they lead me. And doing that led me to ultimately lose 90 pounds. I really hope that something that I have shared here about my weight loss journey has resonated with you and that has motivated you to kickstart your own weight loss journey. And again, if you're interested in learning more about the exact method that I use, the foods that I ate, the workouts, ultimately that led me to lose the 90 pounds, click on the link in the video description and check that out. If you've enjoyed this video and you like this type of content, give it a thumbs up so that I will know and I will continue to make more of it. And if you haven't joined the community yet, take a moment and hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you here as part of the Get Fit community. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.